All right, so let's go ahead and get started and talk about what we're going to cover today. Good crowd. We've got a good crowd here, so I'm excited to have you here. So what if the most productive and rewarding garden season isn't summer, but instead it's fall? Most gardeners miss out on an incredible opportunity to harvest a lot of food because they don't know the secrets for unlocking their fall garden. And today I'm going to share 3 of those secrets for you, okay? We're going to talk about what we can do to make our fall garden more successful and how we can make that happen. Now, I've got this picture, and I'm going to tell you a story because I am proud of this picture, okay? So we took this picture 12 years ago. This is the first time that we harvested broccoli in the fall. Now, we've been growing broccoli for years, but this was the first time that we had ever harvested broccoli in the fall. And so I was super proud and super excited about this. 12 years ago, we had already been kind of flirting with the whole year-round gardening thing for about 4 years. So this was our actual 4th season. And I had been trying to grow broccoli all the years before that. And kept having problems. So is what we did is to get the broccoli, I went to a local nursery that's just down the street from us, and I said, hey guys, I want to be doing some fall gardening, and I would like to grow broccoli. So could you bring some starts in for me? And they said, sure, we'll get them in and we'll call you when they're here. And so on September 15th, every year for the first 3 years that we tried it, they called me and said, hey, Rick, they're here. Come pick them up. And I would plant those broccoli plants and I would take care of them and I would put them in a hoop house and all the stuff that I knew I needed to do, and nothing. We would get nice, big, beautiful plants, but we wouldn't get any broccoli heads, okay? And I was just going crazy because all of our other stuff was just really successful. We were having a great time growing stuff in the winter and just doing really well, super happy with what was happening, but we could not get broccoli to grow or cabbage, okay? So I started doing a little more research, went back to my books, started checking on things, and I found out what I was doing wrong. So I had this kind of epiphany as to what the problem was. And here was the problem. It turns out September 15th was not the right time for me to be planting that broccoli. It was too late in the season. And the company was giving me Watham broccoli, which is a really good variety of broccoli. And it grows really well here in Utah in the spring, okay? But the problem is that it matures in about 80 to 100 days, okay? And that's a problem in the fall. And so I had this kind of combination of things, wrong variety, wrong planting time, that was causing me to not be successful with my broccoli or my cabbage. I was having the same problem with cabbage as well. And so I had to make a change. I had to start growing my own seedlings and getting them in at the right time. And so I figured out the secrets, and now every year we can have broccoli just like this if we make everything happen the right way. Okay, so let's talk about what that right way is as we go through. So secret number 1 for you guys that's going to help you to make sure you get the right crops at the right time is you need to add 15 days to your maturity dates. So in the fall, everything takes longer to mature, okay? And so that's why it's important for us to be growing our own seedlings and not depending on the nurseries, because as good as, this nursery that I go to, I love the people, they're local, but they don't get it, okay? And they're buying it from wholesalers and they just don't get the timing correctly. And so we need to be growing our own secrets, and we need to be adding 15 days to how long it takes for us to mature those crops. So why 15 more days? So if you look at the back of any seed package, it will give you maturity dates, okay? It'll give you a range usually, like on the Watham broccoli, it's 80 to 100 days is the maturity date. And those dates are based on springtime. And what's happening in the spring, okay? It's getting warmer. The days are getting longer, and the sun is slowly but surely coming higher and higher in the sky. And so all of those things combine to help those plants to grow. Well, the exact opposite is happening in the fall, right? The days are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and especially as we get closer to maturity on those plants, it's getting shorter and shorter. We're seeing, the day length by the end of October, in most places, the day length is getting close to 10 hours, okay? And the sun is getting further and further south in the sky, which means it's less intense, and it's getting colder. And so all of those things combine to make us have to plan on longer time for those things to mature. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? We have to add that 15 days. Okay? So if that makes sense, everybody understands that, say yes in the comments if you would, so that I know that you guys are following along here. Okay? All right. So let's use this example of the Watham broccoli one more time, and then we're going to explain how I solved this issue. Okay? So Watham broccoli, 80 to 100 days. If we add 15 days to that, that's 95 to 115 days to maturity, and that's from transplant. Okay? So if we are planting on September 15th, 115 days means it's going to mature in January. Here in Utah, and for those of us that live in the northern climates, that is just not going to happen. Okay? It's not, we don't have enough sunlight and enough warmth for those plants to mature. So we have to do things differently. And so we need to plant them differently, and we need to choose different varieties of plants. Okay? So let's talk about how we figure out our planting times. First fall frost is going to be very important for you guys. And that's why I asked earlier about when your first fall frost was going to be, because that becomes kind of the linchpin date for us to actually go ahead and get our plants started. Okay? You've got to know your first fall frost date, because all of our planting times are going to be based on that date. So again, for those of you that came a little bit later, in the comments, why don't you throw in what your first fall frost date is. And again, mine is October 1st. That's the date that we use for these calculations. And so that's what we're going to kind of use as the example as we go through here. Okay? Now, this is one, I'm going to make this bigger. If you want to take a screenshot right now, this would be a good time to take a screenshot. Sue's saying October 19th, September 11th through the 20th, October 8th. Those are the dates. So take a screenshot of this, because you guys need to go figure out, if you don't already know, you need to figure out what your frost date is. So yeah, I see a don't know there. We don't know. So here's how you figure it out. I've got 3 websites on this page for you: Morning Chores, Farmer's Almanac, and garden.org. I want you to Google each one of those and say Morning Chores frost calculator. Okay? Go to their website. It will let you put your zip code in, your postal code in, and then it will give you a date. Now, here's the frustrating thing, guys, and I'm sorry about this. It's not my fault, but I'm sorry anyways. You're going to get 3 different dates from those 3 websites, because all of them drive from a different database. Okay? And so we're going to use those 3 dates to kind of establish a rough estimate of when our first fall frost date is going to be. Okay? Now, a better way for you to figure out that frost date is if you live in the United States, and even in some areas in Canada, you may have what we call an extension agency. So each state in the United States has a local extension agency that's tied to their agricultural college. So for example, here in Utah, our agricultural college is the it's Utah State University, which is up in Logan. And they have extension agencies in all of the counties. So if you go find that extension agency and give them a call and say, hey, I live in Layton, or I live in Philadelphia, or whatever, what's my first and last frost dates? Then they should be able to give you a pretty solid idea. If you're calling your county extension agency, they really should be able to help you out with that. Now, the 5th way that you can figure out your frost date, and probably the most dependable in my opinion, is find somebody in your neighborhood who gardens and ask them, okay? Knock on their door and ask them. I know what my frost date is because I keep track of it every year, and I've been gardening for 30 years, and I've been gardening in the same area for 21 now. And so I know what my frost date is, and other gardeners are going to know that. So if you don't know your frost date, that's probably your best. Find a neighbor, ask them. They're probably going to be able to help you, okay? But it's super important for us to figure out what that frost date is because we're going to then use that to figure out when to plant, okay? Now, remember, when we are choosing our different crops, we want to choose crops that have a shorter maturity date. So let's go back here to this example, the Watham broccoli. There's actually two broccoli types that I like to grow now. One is called Pac-Man. The other is called Calabrese, okay? Both of those have a maturity date of 65 days. And it's a pretty solid maturity date at 65 days. It doesn't have a range. And so I plant those in the fall. I still plant Watham in the spring, but I plant those two in the fall because I know that they're going to be ready to harvest sooner. And so it shortens that window because instead of it being, you know, with the Watham, we were 95 to 110. With Pac-Man, I'm like 80, you know, is where we're going to be. And that makes it so much easier, okay? The same thing applies to all of these Brassica family plants, okay? These all need time to mature, and so we need to choose those. So, for example, if you're going to grow cabbage in the fall, you're not going to choose Dutch Broadhead. Dutch Broadhead takes like 120 days to mature, okay? Instead, you're going to choose like Golden Acre or Red Acre or something like that, that again has like a 60-day maturity date that turns into like 75 days when we add that 15. Same with cauliflower, same with kohlrabi. Kale and collards are leafy greens, and so we're a little bit more flexible on those, and they all kind of mature at the same time. But Brussels sprouts, the same way. In the fall, we want shorter maturing varieties that will be done sooner before we start running out of daylight. Okay, does that make sense? Everybody getting that one? So choose those shorter varieties and make sure that you get that chosen. Okay, now here's secret number 2, and that is our formula for figuring out when we should be planting our plants. Okay, so we want our seedlings, the actual seedlings, the transplants, to go out in the garden about 4 to 6 weeks before our first frost date. We want to be taking them out of their containers, sticking them in the ground 4 to 6 weeks before our first fall frost, okay? And then if we want 6 to 8 week old seedlings to go out in the garden 4 to 6 weeks before our first frost date, then we need to go another 6 to 8 weeks back. So if we add all of that together for all of the Brassica plants, we need to be planting 12 to 14 weeks before our first frost date, okay? Now, let's do the math on that one. So here we'll use my garden as the example. First frost date is October 1st. That means I'm planning on planting my stuff out August 15th to September 1st, which means if we count back that 12 full weeks, 12 to 14 weeks, I need to be starting my broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts somewhere between June 15th and July 1st is my target date. That's now, guys. And so some of you, I saw some September planting dates. You're really getting close, okay? Now, don't panic and give up. You still have time, but you need to be getting those things planted right away, okay? So see how that works? We have to back that out. And that's for all of your Brassica families. So anything that's related to broccoli or cabbage, okay? That is what we're going to be doing. So let's take a break here for a second. And let me jump back over to the comments. Tell me which of those plants you guys are going to grow this fall while I take a drink. What do you guys think? What are we going to be planting this fall? We're going to do this year broccoli, and we're going to choose Pac-Man this year as the variety. We're going to do golden acre and red acre cabbages. And this year we're going to do kohlrabi. We haven't done kohlrabi for a few years, and so we are going to go ahead and get some kohlrabi planted again this year. So all of those, remember, based on the dates that I just gave you, I'm going to be planting this weekend. Okay? That falls within that range. One thing that I should tell you here, guys, is you'll notice that there's a range. August 15th to September 1st, 12 to 14 weeks, okay? There is some flexibility in this. And part of the reason why that flexibility is built in is because look at what your weather might be like on August 15th, okay? Some years here in Utah, we've had the break, okay? And we're done with 100-degree temperatures and we're back in the 90s and the 80s and things are probably okay. But other years, we're still at 100 degrees on August 15th. And so I might wait until September 1st to plant or wait a week or something just to make sure that the temperatures kind of come down a little bit, okay? So it looks like people have got lots of fun things that they're planting. Cabbage for sure, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, okay? Great, good. So, good to hear it. Now, I did want to take a minute and talk to you because I want to make sure that you guys don't get confused about this. The 12 to 14 weeks is based on the brassica family, okay? If you want to do other crops and you want to start them indoors, things like lettuce, Swiss chard, spinach, Asian greens, arugula, endive, all of those, you are going to want to wait, okay? Your timing is just a little bit different on those. Planting those now would be too soon. Now, all of these, you could just direct sow in your garden, right? Traditionally, that's what we do with these. But why might we want to plant them inside instead? The main reason is space and timing. So the calculation for this one actually for me means that I'm going to be planting those things in my, I would need to be planting them in my garden roughly August 1st, okay? Well, what does my garden look like on August 1st? It's loaded, okay? I'm going to have tomatoes and peppers and melons sprawling all over the place. All of my potatoes are going to be there and not quite done yet. My sweet potatoes will be vining all over. Corn, everything, it's just loaded and packed, and there isn't any empty space in my garden at that time, okay? So if I start everything indoors, that gives me 4 to 6 weeks for things to kind of clear out in my garden. So if on August 1st, I plant lettuce indoors and spinach and things like that, then 6 weeks later on September 15th, all of a sudden my garden looks a lot different, okay? Mainly because my potatoes are going to be done, okay? So all this space opens up as we harvest our onions, we harvest our potatoes. Then all of a sudden there's space for us to put those fall crops into. So using your indoor seed starter, again, starting these under lights, can be very, very beneficial for those leafy greens. So again, all of these plants that normally we would say, oh, we can just direct sow those. But starting them inside gives you the space and the timing that you need so you can get them started at the right time, but you don't have to have them out in the garden yet taking up space, okay? The other thing is the conditions in your house are usually going to be gentler than the conditions in late summer outside. So things like lettuce and spinach and all of your Asian greens are really going to like the cooler temperatures inside. They're going to grow and get started better if you start them inside. And then it gives you a nice finished product too. So when you start inside, you've got one plant. It's not a clump of plants. I don't know if you guys are like me. I am the worst at thinning. So we'll plant a row of spinach or of lettuce, and it just turns into these giant clumps because I never get out and get it thinned. So that's another reason why I like to plant inside, okay? So really quickly, planting dates for those. And again, I wanted to bring these out so that you guys didn't get confused. And I don't want you starting those now. You're going to start these in another four or 5 weeks. So this one target would be 6 to 8 weeks before your first frost date. And then you're going to start them inside then, and then you will set them out when you have space. So again, example for me would be we want to get them started indoors between August 1st and August 15th. That's based on our October 1st frost date. We're going to set them out in the garden somewhere around September 15th or when I have space. Okay, as soon as the space comes available, we'll get those out. All right. So is that exciting? You guys excited to get some things planted in your garden? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of people talking about banana peppers right now. All right, let me know in the comments if you are excited for your fall garden and if you're going to plant any of those greens as well. Okay, who thinks it's important for you to grow more food? Is this something that's important for you? Absolutely excited. Sherry says yes. Wanda says yes. Okay. Is it important for you guys to grow more of your own food? We think that it is. And we definitely, it's something that we have very firmly believed in for the last 15 years. So let me kind of tell you how that came about. We started talking and we recognized how good we ate during the summer. Okay. Think about your garden, starting in April or May, you're getting lettuce and peas and carrots and all that kind of fresh stuff. Then it kind of rolls into your berries and your beans and your tomatoes and your peppers and your potatoes and your sweet potatoes and your corn, all this kind of stuff. We have all of this, cucumbers and squash that are all just loaded, and we eat so good. We ate so much fresh food during the summertime. And then all of a sudden, we weren't eating as well in the winter. Now, we still preserve. We freeze. We have cold storage where we can keep our potatoes and things like that. But we still weren't eating as well in the wintertime because we didn't have all that fresh food. Okay. And so that's what made us decide to start doing this whole fall and winter gardening thing. We wanted to have fresh food that was there for us to eat anytime we wanted. Okay. And that has become so important to us. And just so you guys know, spoiler alert, I'm going to talk more about this in a little bit, but we have something to eat fresh from our garden 365 days a year in zone 6B. And you guys, even like in zones 3 and 4, can have some things, maybe not as big of a variety as we do, but you can have some things fresh from your garden smack in the middle of January. Okay. Now, let me give you secret number 3, because I promised you 3 secrets before we finish up here. And this is the secret to adding time to your garden, okay? And easily being able to extend your growing season very inexpensively. And the way we're going to do that is with a very simple garden structure called a mini hoop house, okay? So mini hoop houses offer protection from cold, snow, and wind. They are very inexpensive to build. Okay, you can, like the one that you see here in this picture, let me make it a little bit bigger for you. The one you see here in this picture, I could build one like this right now for well under $50, okay? Easily under $50, make that happen, okay? They're very inexpensive to build. And the nice thing is they add 8 weeks or more to your gardening season on each end, okay? 8 weeks earlier in the spring, 8 weeks later in the fall. And it doesn't matter where you live, okay? So let's use, I love my wife's grandfather was this amazing gardener. He lived in a little town up in the mountains by the Teton Mountains in Idaho. And it was zone 3A, okay? His growing period was less than 90 days. His frost-free period was like 75 days, okay? So if you live in an area like that, what would your garden be like if all of a sudden instead of 75 days or, let's say 3 months, 90 days, what if all of a sudden it was 7 months? Think about how much more food you could grow and how much more you could eat from your garden if all of a sudden you had more time, okay? And it doesn't matter where you live, having some hoop houses is going to add time. And if you live somewhere like where we do, kind of in the middle ranges, zones 5, 6, and 7, a hoop house is going to just blow your mind, okay? There are crops that you can grow in a hoop house all winter long, okay? And so having a hoop house is just key to being successful. It's going to make such a huge difference to your garden, and they're so inexpensive to build, okay? And they're really simple to build too, especially if you've got raised beds, but even if you don't have raised beds, it's pretty easy to put them together still. Basically is what you're going to do is you're going to use 1/2-inch PVC pipe, okay, the full 10-foot lengths, and you're going to bend them and make the ribs of your structure out of that, okay? Then you want to add a ridge pole. In this picture here, the ridge pole that we have is made out of wood. You could just use another piece of PVC, whatever it is. That ridge pole is going to kind of give rigidity basically to the structure, okay? Help it so that it doesn't just blow over in the wind and things like that. It's going to add that rigidity to the structure, okay? Then all you do is cover that structure with some simple painter's plastic. Okay, so like a 3 to 5 mil painter's plastic is all you need. You don't need to spend a fortune on greenhouse plastic or anything like that. You can just use painter's plastic as long as you take it in after the winter is over and don't leave it out in the summer sun. It will last you for 3, 4, 5 seasons, depending on what your wind is like and things like that. But it should last for a long time, and it's very, very cheap. I mean, the everything that I've just added together there, you know, we're looking at like $3 or $4 for 5 pieces. That's 20, and then, you know, $10 worth of PVC and a few screws, and you're done. Okay. Now you can get fancy, like I do, and put it on a frame. That increases your price a little bit. Is what we've done is we have, for our raised beds, we've made a frame that you can see here in this picture. And then we attach the hoop to the frame. Then the frame gets attached to the raised bed with some hinges, and you can open and close that without having to like pull the plastic off and everything to get inside it. Makes it really, really easy. It does add some more expense and a little bit more complication, but even with today's prices, I could still build something like that for solidly under $75, maybe under $65. To build a hoop house like that. And again, it's going to add weeks and weeks and weeks to your fall garden, and it's going to allow you to plant weeks and weeks sooner in the spring. So it makes this huge difference in what can happen in your garden. Okay, so those are your 3 secrets that that we have for fall garden. Number 1, we want to get our things planted at the right time. Okay. Starting Brassica family in particular, 12 to 14 weeks before your first fall frost. That's secret number 1. Secret number 2 is choosing varieties that are going to mature quicker and remembering that you have to add 15 days to the maturity dates. Okay, so we want to choose shorter maturing varieties over longer maturing varieties so that we can get them done. And then secret number 3 is to use a hoop house to extend your growing season even more. And guys, you'll be easily, you know, if your first frost date is September 15th, you won't have any problems at all gardening all the way till the middle of November in a hoop house. Probably even longer than that. For us, we, you know, here in zone 6, we're able to grow some crops all the way through the winter in a hoop house. And it's amazing. It's cool. Okay. So it's a lot of fun. Okay. Does that help you guys? Let me know in the comments if that helps, because I want to help and I want to make sure that we get you guys helped. Okay. So let me know in the comments if that helps. And let's go ahead and kind of move on really quick. I want to give away a prize. Okay. So let's do a prize. I'm going to make myself big here for a second. So what we're going to do is we're going to give away one of these. So 3 years ago, True Leaf Market came to me and said, "Hey, Rick, we want you to do a seed collection." And I said, "Okay, we're going to do a fall and winter seed collection." And so they let me choose the seeds to put in this collection. And we have 14 seeds, packages of seeds in this collection that are specifically designed for fall and winter gardening. I chose them myself. Okay. These are focused on root crops and leafy greens, but there is a huge selection of these guys. If you want to go buy, if you don't win it today and you want to go buy one, they're really cheap too. It's only like $17 for this thing. So really great collection. Comment fall seeds in the comment section right now. Okay. And we will then get you entered. Okay. So I'm going to put that right there. Now it takes is what AJ's going to do on the seeds is she is going to collect everybody's information, and then it goes into a randomizer, and it takes her about 5 to 10 minutes for her to put that together. So we'll go ahead and do that, and she'll start working on that right now. So while we're kind of waiting for that, would it be okay if I took a minute and talked to you guys a little bit more about our year-round gardening adventure that we have been on for the last 15 years, and maybe talk to you a little bit about the year-round gardening course that we have? So say yes in the comments. Who wants to harvest fresh food 365 days a year from their garden? Okay. We're seeing an absolutely. We're seeing a sure. Okay. Good. Who wants to do that? Yes. Awesome. Okay. So that is what is possible for you guys. So what would it mean to your diet, your family's diet, if you always had fresh garden produce? Okay. 365 days a year. So let me tell you the story of how we got started on this adventure. Okay. So it all starts way back in 2009, in January of 2009. We took a trip with our kids, and back then we had a house full of littles. They're all grown up now, but we had a house full of littles at the time, and they were all super excited to go and spend some time in Southern California. So we went down to Southern California in January, and it was a rainy year, and that meant the park was empty, and it was nice, and we had a lot of fun. But one of the things that we noticed in January in Southern California while we were there is that they were growing food in the flower beds. So in the flower beds all around all the attractions, they had broccoli and kale, cabbages, carrots, spinach, lettuce, arugula, all of this fun stuff. And then they were using that in the restaurants, which we were like, that is so cool, and we're like, how would it be to be able to do that? And we were like, we got to make that happen. That will help us with the whole making sure that we're eating better in the wintertime. And so we talked about it on our long trip home. It was a 10-hour drive home with the kids watching Disney in the background. And so we talked about what we could do. And we assumed that it would mean that we were going to be growing in a cold frame, or I'm sorry, in a greenhouse. That's what I kind of assumed. So I started reading, and I actually came across a couple of books that were really helpful to me. The first one was by Elliot Coleman. The second one was by Nikki Jabor. Okay. Both of these books told me that I didn't need to have a greenhouse to make this happen, that I could just use simple structures to extend my growing season. And it is so cool to do this, guys. And so that's what I want to teach to you, is I want to teach you guys how to have a 365-day-a-year garden. That year, 2009, we came home, and I did all that study, and we decided that we were going to make this happen. And so we built a cold frame, we built some hoop houses, and we got our first harvest of our regular garden. Our first harvest, April or May is when we started having that. And guys, we have had something fresh from our garden 365 days a year, every day since. For 15 years now, since 2009, we've always had something we could harvest in our garden. Now, do we harvest every day? No, we don't. We will usually go out in the wintertime. We'll usually go out on like a sunny Saturday and harvest a whole bunch of stuff and bring it in, and that will be our week's supply. But every day for 15 years now, we've had the availability of being able to harvest from our garden anytime we wanted to, okay? And that's what I want for you guys as well. I want you to be able to garden 365 days a year and have that fresh food in your garden. And so that's why we created this year-round gardening course. So this is kind of the structure of the course. This is what we're going to teach you in the year-round gardener course. And it's this blueprint that we follow. And you'll notice that the very first thing on the list, number one, is not plants or anything like that. It's soil, okay? It is so important when you all of a sudden take your garden from a 5-month garden to a 12-month garden. It is so important that you take care of the soil. And so the first thing we talk about is soil care. The next is crops. Now, for someone like me that lives in the middle areas, okay, we're zone 6B, we're right kind of smack in the middle, we usually can plant there's about 30 different types of plants that we can grow, okay? For someone in zone 3 or zone 4, the list gets a lot shorter. There's some very hardy plants, about a half a dozen that you can grow all winter long, okay? But so it just kind of depends on where you live. So you need to choose the right crops. And so we spend a lot of time talking about that, and especially the base crops, the ones that are the most hardy, that are going to do the best for you. Then we go through and we talk about each of those plants and the timing involved, when we should be getting them in. And then we talk about protecting our crops. And remember, I said we don't need a greenhouse, okay? Now, if you have a greenhouse, everything that I'm going to teach you in this course is applicable, okay? So it 100% applies to you. But you don't need to have a greenhouse. So I don't want you to go out and spend $3,000 on a greenhouse when you can spend $200 on a cold frame and maybe $600 on 3 cold frames. You'll end up having more growing space with a quarter of the price. Okay. And so we're going to focus in this course on the simple structures: cold frames, hoop houses, fabric row covers. We do talk about greenhouses and how you use them, but I want you to be getting into this as inexpensively as possible. Okay. And so we're going to go through and talk about each of them, how you use them. Then we'll talk about harvesting and when you should be, digging those crops out of the ground or harvesting your spinach leaves and how to do it. And then we actually go through and talk about spring and fall gardening as well, because we want to make sure that you're getting a flow together. So the transition from summer to fall to winter is usually pretty easy, but we want to get that flow going into spring and then back into summer so that we're kind of just rolling through and have this constant flow of crops. And so we introduce spring and fall gardening in there as well so that you can be able to make that 365-day-a-year garden work. So that's what we cover in the course. Now, this year we've done something a little bit special, a little bit different. We've put together a bundle for the year-round gardening course, okay? And of course, the first part of it is the year-round gardening master course. That course is what we cover here. That's where this blueprint is and what we cover here. Normally, we sell that course for $150. It's about 6 hours long, and we cover everything really intensively so that you know exactly what you need to be doing. Last year, we added a beautiful 50-page workbook to the course as well. My wife AJ put that together for us, and it's really nice, and it's a great addition. It has charts and lists and all the kinds of things that you need to supplement. Once you have the course and you've got the workbook, I know you're going to have questions, okay? Because I'm dealing with people in zone 3 and zone 8. Okay, there's a big spread, and I know that things are going to be a little bit different, and so I want to make sure that we get all of your issues addressed and all of your questions answered. And so every year during the summer in July and August, we do live Q&A sessions specifically for those of you that are part of the course. And we're going to do at least 4 sessions this year, probably more, but at least 4 sessions we'll do this year, starting about mid-July and going until the second week of August is usually what we will do. And that's an opportunity for you to come on live on a Zoom call with me and get your questions answered. Okay, and so you get to interact directly with me, and it's a fun environment, and a really kind of the highlight for me of the year is meeting with you guys. Okay, now we wanted to kind of up the game this year in the year-round gardening course, and so we've added a couple of bonus courses for you that we've never done before. Okay, the first one is our succession planting mini course. So this is just a little half-hour long course, but it explains to you how to use the principles of succession planting to flow your garden, okay? Both in the winter and fall, but also through the spring and the summer, so that you kind of have this constant, non-overwhelming flow of produce coming out. We don't, obviously you're going to have times when all your potatoes come out or all your tomatoes are ready to can, but we want just this kind of constant flow of fresh food. And that succession planting course is going to help you with that so that you're keeping things going and you've got that in your mind all year long. And then remember how I told you how important our soil was and taking care of our soil when you have a year-round garden. It's super, super important. And we've decided this year to add our composting course to the bundle as well. So this is a 1-hour course where I introduce you to the concepts and principles around composting and how we are going to do that, and especially hot composting. We talk a lot about hot composting in that course. So that is our year-round gardening bundle for this year, okay? Total value of this bundle is $450. Not going to charge you that much for it though, okay? Spoiler alert. The other thing that you should know is you guys this year will be the first group to have the fully updated course. So last year we looked at the course. I created the course way back in 2016, and I'm a better teacher now. We have better cameras. And so we looked at it and we went, you know what? It's looking a little stale. So last year through the season, I updated the entire course. Okay, so you guys get a brand new version of this course that you can join and participate in. So it's a fully updated new workbook. Everything is awesome. Okay, you're gonna love this course. So here's what one of my students thinks. Okay, so this is Nancy, who Nancy is also now a member of the Gardening Academy, which is fun. Says, Rick's year-round gardening course has been a game changer for me. I took this course 2 years ago and planted a fall garden and got as much produce as I did in the summer. Now fall gardening is my favorite. Great content, great personal attention, very interactive. You won't be disappointed. And that's not my carrots, that's Nancy's carrots. She sent me pictures of carrots and broccoli and potatoes and everything that she grew. And so I have a million of these things. People love this course. It makes it so easy for you to figure out how to make this happen. Okay. Now, normally we don't start selling this course until July 7th. And the normal one-time price is $150. Okay. One-time price means you pay once and you're done. Okay. So you have ongoing access to the course. Everybody that bought the course in past years now has the updated version. Okay. Everybody can participate in the Q&As every year. So you only have to pay for it one time. Okay. And normally we just do it in that week time frame. But here lately we've been getting 200 plus people that have been joining us. And so it has become a little bit hard for AJ and I to onboard everybody in one big batch. And so this year we decided that we were going to do an early bird special. So for you guys only, we're going to open the course up a little bit early and let you join a little bit sooner so that we can kind of get everybody integrated a little bit faster. So we're opening up this early bird special today. Okay. Now, part of the early bird special is some extra bonuses that we're not going to offer when we open it up in July. Okay. So because we talked today about starting our broccoli and starting our cabbage and all those kind of things, I'm going to add in 2 bonuses. Okay. We're going to give you our seed starting basics course and our seed starting ebook as well. So we will give you access to all of that information as a bonus as part of the course. Okay. Now, price. You get the early bird pricing, which gives you the full bundle with all the bonus courses and the bonus ebook for only $75. So we're doing half off for this promotion. So $75 is all it costs for you to join this course. Again, ongoing access to the course. We're going to probably cap the enrollment at about 100 people for this early bird special. I mean, if 102 people show up, we'll let you in. But we're going to kind of limit it to about that right now so that we can get those, people integrated and in. So here's what you do. Click the link down below. So there's a link in the description down below this video. You should see it right down there. Just click on it. That's going to take you straight over to our sales page, to the checkout page. And you can use pretty much any way to make that happen. So we've got all the major credit cards. You can use PayPal. You can use Google Pay. You can do your checking account if you want as well. All of those, just click on that. You don't need to leave. Guys, if you click on that link, it'll take you over. You don't need to leave the workshop, so you can do it right now. So just click on the link down below. Go over and get it signed up for it so that you get your spot. I will send all of the, after we get everybody signed up, I'll get the bonuses added. So that'll happen tonight as we do that. So the link should just be right down below. And I also will email a link out right after we're done with the workshop today. Okay. So yes, Renee is saying $75 for everything, $75 for everything. You get all of those courses for $75. Okay. So again, the link should be just down below. And, okay. So people are saying they don't, there we go. Yeah, there's somebody, thank you for posting that, admirer of creativity. So if you look, I'm going to pin this, guys. So I'm going to pin this comment right here. You can click that as well, but it should just be right below me on the screen. Okay. All right. So go get signed up because this is going to be a fun year. I'm excited. Last year we had a really good group, and this year I'm excited to do this again. We love that is happening. So get signed up. Okay. All right. Enough selling. Let's get our prizes given away. So AJ, give me a thumbs up if you have got the prize winner ready. Thumbs up. Okay. All right. So I'm going to jump over here and let's announce our prize winner. So again, the prize that we are giving away is package of seeds. Okay. So 14 different seeds from True Leaf Market. This is our seed collection. And our winner is Paul. Awesome. Paul is actually a member of the Gardening Academy. So that is very cool. Congratulations, Paul. And Paul, I'll contact you. I'll send you an email. And True Leaf is just going to send those directly out to you. So we'll send those right out to you. So congratulations, Paul, on winning that. That's very awesome. And we will be excited for you. Okay. All right. So let me see here. We are going to do questions now. And we're about 50 minutes in. Let's, ask away on your questions. AJ is going to kind of watch out for things. Let me remind you here, start your questions with a question with 3 question marks. That's going to help AJ to know that we've actually got questions coming along. So let me go here and we'll go ahead and answer some questions. So go ahead and submit your questions now and we'll get those answered. Okay. So I'm going to take a drink first though. That was a lot of talking. All right, Tasha, my garden gets very shaded in the fall and winter. Any idea what I can grow and which varieties are okay for low light levels? Okay, that's a good question. So Tasha, one thing that you'll learn in the Gardening Academy, and I probably shouldn't tell you this, or I'm sorry, not the Gardening Academy, but the year-round gardening course, you'll learn that a lot of winter gardening is getting things planted at the right times. So if you plant based on those times that we talked about earlier, those plants should be fairly mature before it gets too shady. That's the idea, okay? And so you may need to adjust based on the shadiness a little bit, okay? And then we just protect those crops over the winter. So anything leafy is going to be a good idea for you. So kale, collards, lettuce, spinach, arugula, all of the Asian greens, bok choy, tatsoi, all of those, Swiss chard, any of those plants are going to be really beneficial for you to actually plant in those shady areas. So, any of those are going to be beneficial. The root crops are going to struggle a little bit more. Broccoli, cabbage, those will kind of struggle a little bit more in the lower lights. So if you've got an area that is a little bit sunnier, you might want to choose that area for broccoli and cabbage and things like that. But the leafy greens should do okay in most of those areas. All right, Caroline is asking, okay, am I talking about extending the growing season for tomatoes in a hoop house too? No. So a hoop house could help a little bit. It will help keep the frost off for a little while, Carolyn, but ultimately the temperatures are going to get too low for tomatoes without heat, okay? And we're trying to avoid the whole extra input part, okay? We want to keep this simple, and so we're not going to be adding heat to our structures. So the hoop house may add a week or two for your tomatoes because it could keep the frost off on some frosty nights, but you could do that with fabric row cover as well. Ultimately, though, your growing season for tomatoes is limited by the temperature, the outdoor temperatures, and especially when the nighttime temperatures start getting below 30 degrees. That's toast. Without heat, you're not going to be able to do that. So, and we don't want to have to add, an electric heater or a gas heater or something like that to your structure. So we'll try and avoid that. Okay. All right, Brooke. When should I start bok choy? It always bolts on me. And can I sow carrots for fall harvest? Okay, so bok choy will do better in the fall, Brooke, for you, because the area that bok choy comes from, and I'm searching my education memory here for it. I'm pretty sure that it's bok choy originally came from. I know it's considered an Asian green, but originally it kind of came from Persia in that area. And the climate there, the increase of light and the increase of warmth was a trigger for those Asian greens to bolt. Okay. And so in the fall, we're getting the opposite. And so it's not perfect. Bok choy it loves to bolt. Okay. Especially if you live somewhere with warmer temperatures. But you should find in the fall that your bok choy will do better than it does in the spring when it comes to bolting, okay? And then carrots, absolutely. Carrots are fantastic for fall, and in fact, they're even better in winter. So we don't even start harvesting our fall carrots until mid to late December, and that means that they have actually sweetened up, and it makes them really fun. So definitely you can do fall harvest on the carrots, okay? All right, Derek, can I make a video about actually building a hoop house? I think this would be very educational and interesting. Okay, in the year-round gardening course, I actually have two videos. So I show you how I build my one that's on the frame, and then I show you how to build just a temporary one. If you go to my YouTube channel, I think there might be one there too as well. So you'll have to double check. I know that I show on my YouTube channel, I've got a video that shows how to do that. But if you join the year-round gardening course, I teach you how to grow or how to build two different types of hoop houses and how to build a cold frame and how to use fabric row covers. We're also, this year, I salvaged some windows, and so I'm going to make some new cold frames out of salvaged material, and I'm going to show you how to make a cold frame basically for free out of salvaged material, and I'm going to be adding that to the year-round gardening course this fall when I build those. The windows are sitting outside right now, so we'll be doing that as well. Okay, Sue, can I still plant onions and garlic and radishes for the fall? Garlic you plant in the fall. Okay, so we plant garlic in the fall for it to overwinter. Okay, anything you plant garlic-wise right now would just be shoots. Basically, you could use the greens, but you're not going to get a bulb this time of year. Onions you can plant. Often they end up just being green onions because onions are so light sensitive that they kind of get funky. If you plant them this time of year. So you may not get bulb onions, you may just get green onions, but yes, you can plant onions. And then radishes do really well in the fall. You can plant different groups of them. I usually wait on the radishes because radishes, again, like bok choy, are very sensitive to the heat and they bolt really quickly. And so I will usually wait, for me, about 4 weeks before my first frost date, before I plant radishes, just so that they don't bolt. Okay? Mary, can I use a hoop house on raised beds? I can't physically do in-ground anymore. Yes, absolutely. All of my hoop houses are on raised beds right now. So I do occasionally, and like this year, we're doing a big batch of kale that will be out in the main garden. And so I'll put a temporary hoop in there. But raised beds, absolutely. You know, I love that because like I showed in that picture, you can build a frame and then put hinges and attach the hoop, the whole hoop to the raised bed with hinges, and then you can just open and close that hoop, and it makes it easier to deal with and easier to harvest. So absolutely, you can do a hoop house on raised beds, and it's going to work perfectly for you. Okay, Kathy, am I going to do a fall seed starting challenge? We talk about fall seed starting in the course itself. I had never, honestly, Kathy, had never thought about that. I guess we could do a seed starting challenge right about now. We've got so many other things going on though that I don't know if we can handle it. AJ's probably rolling her eyes right now, going, "No, don't commit to that." So yeah, I definitely think that we could. We talk about it quite a bit in the year-round gardening course and when you should be doing it. But no, we haven't thought about doing a challenge like we do in January. So next year we're going to be doing the challenge a little bit more often. We're going to do like 2 or 3 of them. So that should be fun as well. Renette is saying, do you have anything on companion planting? So I do a little bit. Companion planting is... It's fun to talk about and learn about, but there's not a lot of science behind it. There really isn't a lot of proof for a lot of things. Now, there are a few things like you should never follow onions with beans. They hate each other, okay? And you shouldn't plant cucumbers close to potatoes. There's a few things like that, but for the most part, most plants are going to do okay. And for me, companion planting is more about introducing flowers into my garden. Okay, so putting marigolds and calendula and borage and bachelor buttons and things like that in my vegetable garden, to me that's more of the companion planting that I do. So I did a video on YouTube just about a month and a half ago on companion planting flowers. You might want to take a look at that. The rest of companion planting though is a little, and it's fun and it's cool and it's nice to study about, but it's a little woolly when it comes to whether it actually really works. I'll offend some people by saying that, but that's kind of what the science says. Shelley, what were the 2 garden books that I mentioned? Okay, so the first one is, dang it, hang on. Shouldn't do this while I'm live, but they just happen to be right here close. Okay, so 4 Seasons Harvest by Elliot Coleman is one of them, and Year-Round Vegetable Gardener by Nikki Jabor is the other. So I still open those and reference them quite often. They're really good books, and they're both still in publication, so you should be able to find them pretty easy. Okay, Sherry, do we still add 15 days if the first frost date typically happens after the posted first? Do they update? Sherry, I'm not quite sure I understand. Anytime in the fall, you want to add the 15 days, okay? So no matter when your frost date is, because the low light, even if you live like somewhere, I saw some people that were saying, that they were in Louisiana or places like that. Even there, you need to add some time because the light is lower, and that's the important thing. The light is the important thing. And so, yes, you do need to add that 15 days in your planning. Barb, I'm a little confused about how the fall stuff matures if we only put them in the garden 6 weeks before the first frost. So remember, all of these crops are frost hardy, okay? So broccoli can handle lots of frost, okay? And so I've actually had broccoli over winter and survive the entire winter and then mature in the spring, okay? Lettuce, spinach, carrots, radishes, all of those plants, turnips, kale, collards, they're all frost tolerant, and so they're going to be fine. And then you use a hoop house to give them a little extra protection, and you're in good shape, okay? So yeah, everything's going to continue to mature as long as we get it planted. If you're planting it too late, it's not going to mature not because of the cold, but because of the lack of light. Okay, that's our biggest danger with our year-round gardening plants. Okay, Carla, do raised beds work better for fall and winter, or is in-ground better? Depends on where you live, honestly. For us, it's sixes. Either one is great. Um, in the colder areas, like zones 3 and 4, and maybe even zone 5, those raised beds that are up out of the ground are going to freeze quicker, and that can be a bit of a problem for you. So it depends on where you live. If you're in zone 5B through 7 or 8, you shouldn't it shouldn't see a real big difference between the two. In the colder areas, I would probably say in-ground is going to be a little bit better, because the ground freezes slower, and then there's less exposure to the wind and stuff like that. So yeah. All right, AJ, we are about an hour and 5 minutes in, so I think we're going to call. I've got 5 questions left here. I think we'll call it a stop there. So we'll go ahead and answer these last 5 questions. Sandy, can I use my greenhouse to winter garden instead of a hoop house? I'm growing in beds that are in ground and plan to use frost cover, zone 6A. Absolutely, Sandy. So everything that we teach in the year-round gardening course would be 100% applicable to a greenhouse. Okay. So the only reason why I don't preach greenhouses is because I don't want you to buy a course and get all excited about it and then end up having to spend $1,000 or $3,000 to build a greenhouse. Okay. I want you to use the inexpensive stuff. But if you already have a greenhouse, absolutely. Everything that we've talked about today is going to work perfectly in a greenhouse, especially with frost covers on top. Okay. So that's going to work really well for you. Stephanie, does the course include tips for all seasons or just fall? Okay. So the course includes fall, winter, and spring. I don't touch on summer. Totally different topics. We're talking about cool season crops. So we have a whole bunch of information general about the plants, the timing, and all that kind of stuff. Then we have specific segments in the course, one on spring planting and spring gardening, and one on fall planting and fall gardening. Okay. So we cover fall, winter, and spring in this course, and how to extend your growing season in both of those to grow earlier in the spring, later in the fall, and in the winter. Okay. So it includes all of those topics. Okay. Sherry, how do you find different varieties of vegetables? Okay. So there are 2 or 3 places that seem to cater to people that want to do this kind of stuff, if that makes sense. So Johnny Seeds is really good with having varieties that are good for fall and winter gardens, and True Leaf Market. Okay. And I love True Leaf Market. I don't work for them, but I work with them. And so they have a lot of really good varieties. This package, this seed package is varieties that I chose specifically for that. So just, look for a good grower that's going to identify things that are going to last long, and also a good seed company that shows you those maturity dates. But just, find your best online company. This time of year, you're going to have a harder time finding a big variety of seeds at stores. And then besides that, those seeds have been sitting around in the outside bay at Home Depot for 4 or 5 months now. They're not going to be as good as seeds. So you should probably order, if you're ordering seeds, I would order them online from True Leaf, Johnny Seeds, Territorial Seed Company, M.I. Gardner. Any of those would be good choices. Okay. Rich, are there particular pests present in the fall that I should expect for my fall crops? We know all the spring ones. Boston 6B October. Okay. Yes. So we have found, and you will probably find different things depending on, where you live, but we have found that aphids can be a particular nuisance in the fall. We also have an issue here in our area with cabbage root maggots. So the fly comes and lays the larva, and then they chew up your carrots. And then we also have problems with leaf miners. All 3 of those are easily fixed, though, by covering the bed with either a bug netting or a light fabric row cover, and you should be golden. Okay. So there will be pests in the fall. It's not pest free, and you can even, if you're not careful, you can even have pests in your cold frame. They usually won't show up until spring when it starts to warm up again, but you do need to continue to be vigilant about pests. And it's going to be different. You're not going to be struggling with squash bugs, obviously, but there will be some pests that you're going to deal with. Okay. Sandy, can I do winter gardening in a glass greenhouse? Absolutely. Again, Sandy, just like I talked here just a minute ago, your greenhouse options, if you've already got a greenhouse, absolutely you can use a greenhouse. I don't mean, I'm trying to get people introduced to winter and fall and winter gardening. And the easiest way to do that is with cold frames and hoop houses. But if you already have a greenhouse, go for it. You're going to be very successful with that. Okay. Miriam, I filled out the app and payment for the year-round gardening class, but when I retrieved the code to complete the process, I could not get back help. Okay, Miriam, send me an email, rick@ourstoneyacres.com, and we'll get it figured out. Okay, so rick@ourstoneyacres.com, and we'll figure it out. And you're not going to lose any of the bonuses or anything like that. So if you haven't already gotten it figured out, email me, and I'll either jump on a call with you, or hopefully we can just work it out via email. So shoot me an email right now, and as soon as we're done here today, I'll check with you and see what we've got going on. Okay. Sorry, just really quick. One more. Okay, Stephanie is asking, is there a discount code for the Gardening Academy? Stephanie, we will offer a discount code to the Gardening Academy if to people that join the year-round gardening course. We'll offer a code, or if you want to go sign up right now, we offer a discount right now on the annual version. So, but again, we'll offer a discount for you for the Gardening Academy as well. That's outside of the year-round gardening course is not in the Gardening Academy, but yes, so definitely we will have some discounts for you there. Okay, and then I noticed AJ said we've got some Gardening Academy members that want to join. Guys, I'll send you an email separate because we've got some special perks for Gardening Academy members. Don't buy from here. Everybody else buy from here, but Gardening Academy members, we've got some extra things there. Guys, we're also seeing that people are having a little bit of a hard time signing up with the course. That was the technical difficulty that we were dealing with before we started. Something was wrong and our site was down. And so hopefully we've got that resolved now. So just keep trying. But we did have just a little bit, they were making a little bit of a change to our website that we were unaware of. And so we had a problem there for a second. So, okay, guys, I'm just kind of looking. Patricia is saying Google Calendar failed me. Just got here. Dang, sorry. Patricia, it's going to be recorded. Okay, so we'll send out an email. It'll actually go out. In fact, as soon as I finish, the link will immediately go to the replay, so you can watch the replay. I'm sorry that you missed most of it, but yeah, we should be able to get there. Okay. All right, guys, thank you for being here today. This was fun, and hopefully you guys will join the year-round gardening course as well. We would love to have you join. Again, congratulations to our seed winner, Paul. And we'll get that mailed out to you. Remember, our early bird pricing, you get that full bundle of courses. So you get the year-round gardening course, you get the workbook, you get the Q&As, you get the succession planting course, the compost course, and then as a bonus for you guys, you get the seed starting basics course and the ebook. All of that for $75. Okay, so click on the link. There's a link pinned in the comments, or you can check out the link down below, and then I'll send an email out to you as well. So get signed up, and I know that you guys are going to love that course. It is a fun course, and we appreciate you guys being here and being a part of this. So thank you so much for being here, and I think we will call it for tonight, and we'll we'll see you guys in the year-round gardening course. Okay? Thanks. Happy gardening, guys.